I seeded the New Earth Project at that time, and that was now 12, 13 years ago. So in the meantime, in 2015, launched the International Tribunal for Natural Justice to be able to begin to dispense natural law and get it out there. So we did the, revelations of the Epstein files and the Pizzagate and all that nefarious shit. We did that in nearly 10 years ago, my organization, in broad daylight, in Westminster, London, with Judicial Commission's inquiry, with very famous and powerful people flying in. And so we did a hard enactment and manifestation of revelation and disclosure, and financed it and produced, made these events happen, and dodged a lot of bullets along the way, I can tell you. And then that moved on to the World Hereditary Council, which we finally launched in last year. And our latest Judicial Commission of Inquiry is into the doctrines of discovery, the Vatican crimes against humanity, all of us, over the last 500 years. And that then moved into, so I've been covering the full gamut of natural justice and technology, big in technology incubation, especially the stuff that is now popping scientists all around the world, apparently. Even Trump is talking about it. 11 or 12 scientists killed in recent weeks because they are actively dynamically researching anti-grav and these hyperdimensional aspect of real physics, moving beyond the Newtonian, Cartesian, Darwinian, Einsteinian model of disreality into the quantum. So that's incidentally is what my talk at the Expo today is all about, that, and how it all ultimately, that incredible subject matter all comes down to the palm of your hand and to what crosses the palm of your hand, the silver dollar of the devil, or what? Or is it a crypto coin? How do you transact in this world? How do you begin to manifest a world where you can move across the surface of the world unmolested by third-party intervention, by government, or by Satan, or by the bogeyman, the mujahideen, or whatever the hell you want to dream that stuff up? The point is, how are you and I, as a fellowship, conducting, transacting, and exchanging? So it's all about fiat now. It's all about money. It's all about how we disentangle ourselves from the fiction of fiat money, of usury, of debt, of totemizing life force into the idea of money. Time is not money. Time is art. Time is not money. But the age that we're departing was about time is money. And that's the source code of the kingdom of the devil, of scarcity, of war, of disease, of poverty, of dominion, of control. It's all down to that. So my life's work in these 27 years has now, in the last couple of years, come to economics, hard economics. And that's what we've just unveiled in the last few days as the New Earth Exchange, entire parallel economic and financial system for humans to be able to conduct their own banking, their own transacting with ghost wallets, and all of it fully compliant with this nonsensical status quo, which is under dissolution. But the point is, as that moves into deconstruct, the great reset that's being orchestrated for us is seeking another thrall of domination on us, and a secrecy of surveillance and so on. We've created an entire parallel system which is entirely lawful. And that's what I'm unveiling also today at the end of my talk. So to me, it's all about economics and the reclamation of sovereignty through exchange and transaction. Because if we can't begin to engender that on the ground floor, we can't build this new earth that we're dreaming. So I'm sorry, it's boring, it's droll, but it comes down to the mechanics of transaction. And that's what I've been working on with a very, very big team on 3 continents for the last few years. We're finally unveiling that right now. I was up yesterday morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, before I got on a plane and flew here, meeting with dozens of the kings in Africa. We're dealing with indigenous elders and leaders in kingdoms and sovereign enclaves around the world with this new system of banking and of transacting. So for me, it's all about that. It's the mechanics of how we move unmolested on the surface of the earth. And my work is now entirely focused on that.
Yeah. And I'm also curious to know, Sacha, why do you say that we should place more attention on Africa when it comes to the new earth?
For the very reason that I mentioned, alluded, I was born in the worst possible situation. And I spent my lifetime asking myself, what did I do to deserve being born into the middle of a war in sub-Saharan Africa? And in that ghastly situation, I now understand the beneficence of my own incarnation, and precisely why I apparently chose to dive into the heart of darkness, over half a century ago. Why did I choose to do that? Well, clearly to understand the full arc of this world and serve the realm of duality of the Northern Hemisphere, the Southern Hemisphere, the haves, the have-nots, and to begin black, white, that whole dialectic. Here I am, I'm a third generation white African. I'm returning now and being received by the oracles and the kings of Southern Africa. And the work that I've been engendering on as a human being, not as a white skin, but as a human being, in terms of restoration of natural justice, working on the resurrection and restoration of the hereditary leadership of the world, things like that, eradication of the synthetic molecule through pharmacopoeia, which is what my work with the Arise Guerrilla News Network and the Arise Resurrection Tours and all the frontline advocacy and activism I've done. I founded the World Health Sovereignty Summit in 2019. There with Del Bigtree and Dr. Robert O. Young and a great many of G. Edward Griffin, great with Jim Humble. Many good people were there at the launch in Indonesia. But what we were doing, and that was 6 months before COVID, because we knew that the vaccine was weaponized. And we were calling it out 6 months before the world even heard of COVID. Screamed it. Of course, very few people listen. And then through COVID, we just built up more and more of a chorus, and then just took as frontline activists for years, proselytizing against the synthetic molecule. I'm coming back to Africa, and I know what I'm doing. But the synthetic molecule is the issue of white man's poison. It was the point of auto-destruct and takedown of the living. So the whole transhuman smart city, the whole is an issue that comes off the synthetic. It's a synthetic construction of God's law, God's principle, and we have to deconstruct that and bring it back. Laura mentioned a moment ago the dodecahedron. Can't explain to you how important the dodeca is as a geometrical form. If you study synthetic molecules, you will see that they belong to the kingdom of the devil. Psychedelics and natural earth medicines and things like that, perfect, beautiful. These are corridors to ascension and to enlightenment. But the synthetic molecule is designed the other way around. It's designed to indenture humanity and all sentience, including the oceans and the biome of the air, the water, and the soil, synthesized now with plastics, microplastics, trillions to the power of trillions of particulates, aluminum, barium, phosphate, strontium, fluoride, everywhere, saturated in this world to the synthetic molecules. That is by design. And then you talk about the weaponization of the biosphere through inversion of frequencies, 5G and above, connected to an unwitting Pentagon, an NSA type conspiracy. And I was visited, I mentioned to you in 2018 by Supreme Command when Donald Trump was visiting the Queen of England. They came to my home and told me that my film 5G Apocalypse, the extinction event, was now being used as part of the training manual. Because my film, from a radical outside perspective, was teaching some of the good hats on the inside of the military intelligence that their own infrastructure was being used for this purpose. They weren't aware of that. But the point I'm making is Africa comes now as the reborn age of innocence, this resurrection, this restoration, the regenesis of Homo sapiens sapien into Homo luminous takes place now from the Southern Hemisphere. The Northern Hemisphere has run amok. White man's poison has run amok. It is now coming from the atom seed of the dark continent in Africa. Besides, and for a good reason, Africa is the cornerstone of the global economy and has been historically, for certainly since the Vatican conspiracy began. And just ask the Crown of Belgium and ask the Crown of England and ask all of the crowns who've gone in and subjugated and stolen the gold and the diamonds and the emeralds from Africa. Africa is the mainstay, the primary hub of the mineral deposits of the earth. It's the biggest continent as well. It's about 3 times bigger than you see it on the atlas. So you look at the Mercator map now, that is not the size of Africa. It's 3 times larger than that in context. And that's, again, just demonstrates how we've been mentally subjugated. We don't even know the shape of our own atlas. We're simply still looking at a 16th century Mercator map. But Africa is the mainstay of the world economy. Ask Putin that question, he'll tell you. ask Xi Jinping, and ask Donald J. Trump. So that's why I've been working with the hereditary kingdoms and with governments there as well, I have to say, in order to bring about a new economic system that can prevail in that part of the world. But it's one that will be is backing the new Earth Bank that we're launching Midsummer's Day this year in America and elsewhere. So in order to have a coin, which we call the NXC, and a planetary banking platform that's going to be legitimate, it has to be backed by real world assets. Right now, the greatest respect to the United States, its dollar is backed by usury, backed by debt and war. So debt into the future and war in the living moment. The Bitcoin is backed by SFA, sweet fuck all, nothing. Bitcoin and cryptos in that sense are backed by sometimes good ideas. I'll grant you that, but in the main, scarcity. Bitcoin is the ultimate totem of scarcity. That is an apocalyptic notion to be reintroducing as the genesis point of a new economy. Scarcity. What a ghastly notion. So real world assets, land, fellowship, technology, minerals, backing the new earth as a collateral, real-time collateral. That's the only way we can issue an honest economy, an honest coin, and that's exactly what we're doing. So to allude to what Laura mentioned earlier, yes, we're upturning the tables of the moneylenders again, and restating a true form economy based on 0-point economics and what we call true cost economics, which you and I discussed at dinner last night. What is the real cost of an apple? Well, obviously it's nothing. Walk out the door, go to an apple tree and pull it off the tree. And yet you will pay $5 to $7 from a street vendor anywhere in America for an apple. That's insane by definition.
We had a fascinating conversation yesterday, and Laura and I had our mouths to the floor because we're like, "What? This is the new Earth, and it's a beautiful template that you're spearheading." And so, I wanted to begin to wrap up our conversation with a dynamic that I was thinking between both of you. Is there a question, Sacha, that you would like to ask Laura, and then vice versa? To him.
Yeah, will you marry me?
Oh my goodness.
It's a good question because I have asked 1,000 questions of Laura over the years, and I can safely say that there is no question that I particularly feel the need to ask. I just like in the moment, whatever emerges is going to emerge. I'm interested to know. How Laura views her own life moving into the upshift, like from this moment. I know family is kind of growing, right? And you move like me, you travel, you move all the time. But I'm generally interested to know how you view yourself. You're like a perennial radical schoolgirl who just doesn't fucking play by any of the rules, the back of the class. On the one hand, you are a mother, like a real mother flame mother in all wonderful ways. And you're not a researcher, you're a knower. You don't research, from what I understand, you tap in. And so you're also directly connected to this Akashic flame and able to completely subsume and immerse into ultra reality, and then help to decode and bring it into manifest terms. So these are tremendous gifts you've got, very Neptunian gifts in that sense, for sure. But where do you see your own journey taking place between now and what I would term biological ascension, which is absolutely happening in our age? And there's no question about that. It is happening in our age. And anyone alive, even today, by your divine will, does not need to die. You will be able to kick the ball back for as long as you like. We're about to dip into that realm. I know, because I'm directly involved in very advanced microbiology and sciences in both Europe and Africa right now, to know that we've got the technology. I'm dealing with some of those science groups. We've got the technology now. There is no further research required to be able to extend life for hundreds of years, and to begin systemic age reversal. So that when does that hit the high street, that becomes another matter. But under the assumption that we're able to move now into this quantum realm, where do you see yourself archetypally? What do you see yourself growing toward or into?
Well, that's a great question. Well, thank you so much. My gosh. I just know that it's all in here. I feel there's a lot more relief. Like, I'm just glad that part's over. I had to get this part completed to move to the next. It's just been ongoing since I was born, before, this birth, similar to you. It's an ongoing mission. I don't ever recall just having any real kind of downtime, because anytime I have a vacation, it's like it comes in, it just doesn't leave me alone, ever. So it's all based in the necessity of what needs to come through, what needs to be addressed. And I feel there's just a lot more peace and relaxation, and reflection, for all the things that I know exist within us, to just feel it as something I can enjoy more, instead of kind of, I don't know, like, just really want to drop into just my own peace. I have a lot of healing. I mean, still to do. Raising kids under the conditions of, being heavily targeted, and all the different, things that took place has, really rattled my core. But I'm here, and I just knew that, it's our endurance, it's our tenacity, it's our ability to just never give up. That's what shocks them, because that's what they were banking on: defeat, exhaustion. I give up. I'm not going to do this anymore. And that just doesn't exist. When you answer to this, when you answer to that part of yourself, and that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us deprogramming whatever it is that might get thrown at us. To me, it's just a puzzle. It's just something to be broken down. It just doesn't have any resonance. So I just feel like more enjoyment. Building these connections is everything. And I know something else was, coming through, but just wherever I'm supposed to be, I'm just really in the now. And I do research as far as, listening to whistleblowers and testimony from people that have been in SSP. So those are some dots I connect. But yeah, I appreciate your what you
I
said.
just meant you're more of an oracle than a researcher.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that, kind of helps me to connect with certain pieces of that researching part. But yeah, it's always been about that. So I know that will continue. But I feel at this stage, I have a lot more to kind of recover from than where I thought I might be, without creating that expectation of, I know that I don't have to be in the pain that I'm in sometimes about just things that have happened in the past, or things I wish I could have done differently, or I'm really hard on myself, like you was saying. So I'm constantly turning the sword on myself, and I just want peace so much with other people, and don't want to be misunderstood anymore. I'm tired of having to answer to, Eisenhower's administration and what happened, not in this setting, but in being attacked for it. Because the thing is, even if he was the most evil person on earth, people don't understand that we are sovereign souls that come in and we have our agreements. It just so happens he wasn't, evil. I just feel I'm at a completion point where I can just find peace with what I've done so far, and have a sense of wonderment and excitement about what's to come. And I just feel a lot of fulfillment from this event, and gratitude, because there's certain connections that are so important to me that every time I get the opportunity to spend this quality time, I just want to just take the time to really integrate it, and just be so grateful that I know who my real friends are, and that, I'm seen. Because that, I'll never get used to that, because you just sort of grow up and you are that rebel. You are that person in the back of the class. You are trying to bring attention to things. And I went most out of touch with reality for my senior class. So it was always like, Laura's just like crazy and just this and that. So it's always surreal to me that I'm taken seriously and I'm listened to. So just grounding more, just enjoying life, just being in nature, and taking care of just whatever is in front of me. I'm completely committed and devoted, and I just love life. I love the human spirit and all that we're, all of our potential. So I don't want to overly answer that. I just know nervous system, calm, relaxation. I've always wanted to create healing centers and just continue to travel, go to sacred sites, and yeah, just live the joy, live more joy. Because the hardest part is over, really. I really feel that. So I just feel more celebration. And so I'll ask you a question. And I know that wasn't much of an answer, but I think it's the best I could do.
Thank you for being so honest.
Yeah, just being in the now and just being in the flow. And that's where all the instructions come in. And I'm just where I need to be at all times. And knowing when to take the time that I need for myself to, ground and nurture myself. So my question for you.
What's the population of Philadelphia? I don't know.
Can you spell it backwards? Where do you feel this next generation is inheriting the massive mark that you're leaving behind? And even though I don't see a death transition, I see, sort of a gateway opening, and that we will defy, this death and aging process. What do you feel will be this kind of next generation experience in reaping the benefits of all that you've done?
Well, if we're talking about the age beyond third-party intervention, because that's what we're essentially talking about. We're talking about an age where there is not the intervention of government and rules and regulations and health and safety and ordinances and codes and statutes and stuff. So those constraints move into dissolution. The finger wagging of mummy and daddy and of patriarchies and matriarchies and of the schoolroom in the arcane sense, all of that moves into dissolution as well. The third-party intervention of satanic or Saturnian syntax and linguistics being programmed into us at birth as we're coming into this world as babes and opening our eyes into the majesty of creation and actually seeing the hyperdimensional majesty of that creation, but that being closed down very quickly as mummy and daddy and doctors and nurses and nannies croon over us and start programming this Saturnian syntax into us. And that immediately, that instructionals coming at us and goo goo gaga, that terminates instantly our ability to actually remember the star linguistics and bring them into this world, which is what all newborn babes are trying to do and wanting to do, to bring their star linguistics into this world. But that gets inhibited and cauterized almost instantly from birth. Certainly that business of the, cesarean section with the isotope coming off surgical steel and the isotope coming off the surgical steel of the scissors cutting the umbilical. Those are diabolical actions, Saturnian actions against the symbiotic birthing process of the mother bringing the child in. So you know more than most. But that third-party intervention is going to move away completely with this new generation. So right from the inception point and then go to where daddy's making love to mummy, and go to when the semen leaves the penis and moves through the channel and breaches the membrane of the egg. Go back to that. Why not? Surely that's inception point, right? That's going to be a dynamic piece of geometry as well, because conscious conception is going to be the norm. Willfully conceiving and making love is going to become the normal practice. Now, very quickly, it's going to be a huge acceleration in consciousness. So when you've got a generation, to answer your question, when you have a generation coming in who are receiving the baton from what? Albeit distant memory, all the trials and tribulations and travails that we lived through to battle through duality and battle through temporality and battle through the patriarchy and battle through war, disease, poverty, intervention. I've been poisoned, very seriously as part of the work that I've done and almost killed. I lived for 3-4 months through that to resurrect through that ghastly experience. And that's a memory in me. I choose to absolve those experiences. I've literally zeroed them out. They're gone. The death of beloveds, it's gone. The grief. I'm not carrying the grief. I'm not replanting those seeds from my trial of separation. So the new generation will not be receiving from me the imprints of trauma. I can guarantee you that much. What they will receive is 0-point templates that allow them to be able to lean into life and to affirm, to create, and to expand limitlessly, and to return to innocence, which is to return to immanence, which is to the majesty of our divine expression and divine nature. So I know that that much is the legacy that we've been weaving and I don't say leaving because I have every intention of frolicking around in the Garden of Eden that we're constructing right now. So yeah, fun, it's all good. But I would say this, that I also recognize that any younger generation stepping into their innocence and immanence will have to come back to a foundational principle, a living principle, which I've been proselytizing for years, which is that the path of least resistance to the highest outcome, always in all ways, is standing in pure truth and conducting right action in the living moment. And if you do understand the business of pure truth and right action in the living moment, which is the moment right here, right now, then we are the architects of creation, absent any third-party intervention, and we can anchor patterns of perfection into this realm and manifest the kingdom of heaven on earth. Simply with that credo, without having the scriptures and the gospels and the doctrines and the dogma, you don't need any of that. You don't need the libraries of Alexander. You don't need the Kabbalistic theorems and the fancy pants geometry. You don't need any theoretics. You don't need any learning. You need to be conducting right action and standing in pure truth in the living moment. And everything is revealed to you through that. That is the power of immanence and revelation right there.
Beautiful, yeah. And that's really kind of, it's just, I love what comes through, and that's the thing. That's, no matter how difficult the journey has been, that's what it culminates to. There have been necessary passages, through some very, very difficult and dark territory in order to bring light, bring awareness, bring truth into these places, because the mother womb that's turned into sort of like this hellscape has needed to be implanted with that seminal spark in order for the new birth and the new earth to emerge through. And this is the path that we've been walking, and in our own ways, in our own unique ways, and so many of us. The minute that awareness lights up, then that path through adversity and challenge becomes the correction to the inversion. And we forget sometimes that is a part of the work. And when one can land from the time of birth and have that childhood experience, exactly what he's describing, it's just, it all flows through. And with the grid network, completely in alignment with the DNA that is no longer sealed and fenced and put in reversal with the junk. This is a multidimensional Earth that is connected to all the star systems. It's not separate. This is a very unique planet. So I'm really excited for what's to come.
It has been fascinating to witness the both of you in this dynamic. And so I just wanted to honor both of you for the work that you do, and for the rebelliousness that lives inside your spirit, and also the innocence with which you bring forth this information. Also getting very real at times. And that's something that I really appreciate and honor. And I know everyone tuning in as well. So so much love to you both. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to get on with our days here at the New Living Expo. And I know you both have presentations today. So good luck with that, and super excited to continue this conversation with you both.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you so much for having us and for having the vision to put us together today.
Yeah.